mess in place. Yeah.
Okay, so this is mise en place to do this demo, right? Now watch something really, really weird, okay? I'm gonna go through my mental mise en place, and it looks like I'm having some kind of seizure, okay? But I'm really not. I'm just gonna walk through what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna say, the order I'm gonna do it, okay? So give me 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay?
And I'm getting this on film.
All right, so. Ta-da. Okay, so we start talking about the cooking techniques, right? Okay, how many classical cooking techniques are there? Seven, right? Okay. No matter the cuisine, no matter the culture, no matter the part of the world, no matter what, every bit of food from each one of our own personal cultures, our nationalities, wherever we're from in the world, every bit of food is going to be cooked in pretty much the same way, with one of those 7 techniques or a combination of those 7 techniques. Okay, fajitas, stir fry, same thing. Okay, you think about it, right? Pierogies, ravioli, same thing, right? It's a filled pasta-like dough, right? Doesn't really chili, etouffee, jambalaya, borscht, you know, everything, you know, I mean, from soul food to classical French food and everything in between, right? We're all going to use a variation or a combination of those 7 cooking techniques, okay? But what you have to remember, okay, using the correct technique and doing it properly is really where you're going to develop your flavor. Salt, pepper, garlic, herbs, spices, all of that stuff is kind of like your makeup, ladies, okay? You're stunning, you're gorgeous. Why do you add makeup? To make you more stunning and more gorgeous, right? Okay? It's an accent, it's an amplifier to the flavors, okay? Cooking properly will develop the flavor of the food. Now let me ask you a question. If you have mashed potatoes, and the very first thing you taste when you taste the mashed potatoes is salt, what's wrong? What's wrong?
It's likely too much salt.
Too much salt, right? What should you taste? Potatoes. Not cream, not butter, not salt, not pepper, not anything else, but potato, okay? So we're gonna go through a whole kind of an exercise here, okay? But first thing you gotta remember, so today we're gonna be doing saute, okay? Now, you never, ever, 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 never, ever, when? Never saute in a cold pan, okay? The mechanics of saute, regardless of what you're sauteing, okay? You heat the pan, you heat the fat, then you add your product, okay? Listen to the word, saute. Say it like that, saute. When your pan is hot enough and you put your product in, saute, okay? If you put it in and the pan's cold, the fat's cold, you're gonna get saute, right? So we wanna get saute. How do we test the fat to see if it's hot? Well, you can take a little bit of flour, put it in there, just, okay? It'll sizzle, okay? Remember when you guys are making your roux, right? When you heat your pan, you heat your fat. When you started adding your flour, what happened? It started to look like it got foamy, right? So then we knew the fat was hot enough. Okay, make sense? Okay. So, aromatics are always gonna go in first. Aromatics are gonna be onions, garlic, shallot, chive, you know, anything that's gonna give us a nice flavor, okay? But saute means to cook quickly in a small amount of fat over high heat, okay? So it's going to be used primarily for small, thin pieces of meat, fish, poultry, previously cooked vegetables, blanched and chopped. What's blanching? Who remembers blanching?
So when you make the sauce?
You partially cook it, right? And then we have to shock it. What does it mean to shock the vegetable? To shock the item. What's that? To stop the cooking. And typically, how do we do that? What's that? Cold water, an ice bath, something like that, okay? Sometimes we put it in the cooler. Sometimes we'll put it in the freezer. It's not always in ice water, but that's the more common one, okay? Sometimes you'll have vegetables that are cut thin enough that you don't need to blanch them, and you can saute them. Snow peas, right? Okay. But cauliflower florets, broccoli florets, what should we do? We should blanch them. So how about julienne squash? Can we directly saute them? We can take certain vegetables that can either be blanched and shocked and then sauteed, or we can cut them specifically so that they're small and thin enough that we can saute them from a raw state, okay? So that's again why your knife cuts are extremely important, okay? Everybody good? Everybody following along?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so my first step of sauteing is what? What? Nope. What? Heat the pan. Second step. What? Heat the fat. Third step. Add your product. Okay, good. So now you can cook. We're done. Now we got to go. Okay. Now, regardless of what you're sauteing, regardless of what you're cooking, meat, fish, poultry, vegetables, iguana, rhinoceros, giraffe, ostrich, pterodactyl, tyrannosaurus, it doesn't matter, okay? Saute is saute is saute. Grill is grill is grill is grill, okay? It doesn't matter what you're doing. You got to go through the proper mechanics and go through the proper steps. Makes sense, right? Okay, so we heat the pan, we heat the fat. Got my pan on low. I'm going to turn it up a little bit, okay? We're using an induction burner, so it's going to heat up fairly quick. What I'm going to do, take my fat, remember I said how much fat for saute? Small amount of fat, okay? Small amount of fat to cook quickly over high heat. That's saute. Saute in French literally means to jump, okay? Notice the shape of the pan. Are the sides straight? No, they're kind of sloped, right? Okay? Pause when we saute, okay? All right, so you have to start using all of your senses, not just sight, okay? Use sound. Remember? What should it say? Saute, right? If we're gonna grill, grilling is what? We got high, direct, intense heat, right? So what is it? Is it grill? Or is it grill, right? Put that steak on the grill, right? But if your grill's not hot enough, it's gonna go grill. Okay? So you wanna be careful there. Use your sense of smell. Smell the butter. Can you smell it? You're close enough. That's it. You start to smell that, right? Okay? Now, said to saute means to jump, and the pan is sloped. So, just to show you what I mean, okay, got some raw beans. Now the trick is not to have beans all over the place. Okay, so if you're sitting down watching SpongeBob at home, okay, get some raw rice, raw pasta, raw macaroni, raw beans, whatever, and practice. You're gonna have to turn up the TV so you can hear SpongeBob, right? But you can play it, okay? You're probably watching Paw Patrol, right? Okay, I heat the pan, I heat the fat. Now I do what? Add the product, okay? I said a thin julienne, but okay. I guess I get what I get, okay? So remember, saute means to what? What does it mean? The joke, right? Comes out of the pan too. Okay, so you want to let it cook. Biggest problem, biggest hurdle that you guys have to overcome is your lack of patience when you're cooking. You want to cook too fast, okay? How many of you, and I know most of you probably do this, if you look at the directions on your Hot Pocket, when you put it in the oven, it says put it in the oven at 300 degrees for 20 minutes until it's nice and brown, right? But you're really hungry, so you put it in the oven for 10 minutes at 600 degrees. What's going to happen? Nothing, except you're going to burn your Hot Pocket, right? You've got to learn to be patient. Cooking, all cooking, regardless of what it is just a manipulation of the heat and food, okay? So, but you got to do it in stages. You got to do it in sequence, okay? You can't rush certain things, okay? Now, I'm sauteing and I want to develop color, okay? The color is going to be that nice golden brown, okay? Something we refer to scientifically as the Maillard reaction, where the natural carbohydrates, sugars, proteins, everything in the product that you're sauteing, sugars, natural sugars, they're going to caramelize. When we heat sugars, they'll caramelize, turn what? Brown, right? Okay? But in more realistic terms, we call it the GBD, golden brown and delicious, right? Okay? So think about it. What does white bread taste like? A dish towel, right? But toast that bread and then what? It's pretty tasty, right? Okay? You gotta talk about developing flavor, okay? Now I want to saute. You see how my onions are starting to brown, right? Starting to develop color. You start smelling. What do you start to smell? And when you smell that savory, rich, deep flavor, right? That aroma, what happens inside your mouth? Saliva. And what is saliva? Why does that happen? Anybody?
Digestion?
No. It does help with digestion. Saliva is going to be the vehicle. It's going to be the bus. How many tastes can you sense on your tongue? How many? We have salty. We have sweet. We have sour. Okay? Okay? Then we have bitter. Okay? And what's the fifth one? What's that? Umami. Okay? Savory. Okay? What you're smelling when we caramelize that stuff, that's umami. And that's what causes that saliva to start happening. Okay? Because when you eat something, okay, the saliva, as you're chewing, the food is going to mix with the saliva, and the saliva enables whatever you're eating to hit all of those receptors on your tongue. Okay? So, if something's too salty, what happens? Then that's all you taste, right? I've never understood why people like overly spicy food. Okay? Spicy's so hot where you just burn yourself. Okay? Here's a better example. Who likes ice cream? Okay, the first 2 or 3 licks of the ice cream cone tastes great, doesn't it? But then after that, what happens? Nothing. It's just like you're eating a cold substance. That's all it is, right? Why? Because cold makes things contract, right? Gentlemen, when you shave, use cold water or hot water?
Hot water.
Hot water. Why? Because heat makes things expand. expand. Okay? So that's what we're doing. We're expanding those items with the heat. Remember I said manipulate the heat and the product to develop your flavor. Okay? Now before we do anything else, okay? Bob, there's grape juice in the reach in, all of it. Okay, so remember when we were talking about our roux? We were saying that you have to constantly scrape the sides of the pan. Otherwise, what's going to happen? It's going to stick and burn, and then what's going to happen to your flavor in the roux? It's going to burn and give us that really bitter, funky, nasty kind of a flavor, right? Okay, I need a volunteer. Come here. Come over here. Do me a favor. Bite into that. Not so much, right? Okay. Now. Bite into that. Better. Now, yep, where it's a little overdone. What do you get? So the first one was what? Strong, right? The second one was pretty good. Now, try the other end of that one. How's that one? Okay, so you see the stages of cooking. Okay, you see, we didn't add any salt, we didn't add any pepper. All we did was manipulate the heat and the food, and we changed what? We changed all those different. We got, how many different flavors did we just have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we forgot about the burnt. We forgot about the yummy, the pretty good, and the oh my god. Right? Okay, so that's caramelization. Okay, go ahead. All right, now look, you see how the onions are caramelizing? Okay, now we could do this process a whole lot faster. Okay, but you know we want to explain everything. I want to make sure you guys understand this. Okay, so anybody have any questions up to this point? Okay, let's review. First step of saute is to do what? Heat the pan. Second step. Come on. Even if you're wrong, you have to answer. What? Come on. I promise, I'm not going to take away your birthday if you get it wrong. Okay? What's the second step of saute? Add your fat. Okay? Third step is... Come on, Joe. Add your product, okay? And then we cook, okay? So that's saute, okay? Now let's backtrack a little bit, okay? We talked about blanching a little while ago, didn't we? And blanching is to do what? Partially cook something, right? Okay? So, can I blanch using the saute technique? How? What's that? Yeah. What happens when it's really hot outside? What do? You sweat, okay? So moisture comes out, right? Okay? So, what's happening right now? There's something very specific going on right now, even though I'm not on the heat anymore. It's called, sounds like carry over cooking.
We haven't talked about that in class.
Okay, Liam, carry over cooking is what?
Whenever something keeps cooking even if you turn off the heat.
Even when you remove your pan from the heat, it's still cooking, okay? Something you're gonna have to be very, very careful of when you're sauteing, especially sauteing, okay? So right now, even though it's not on the fire or on the heat, it's still cooking because the product, the fat, everything is still hot. As it's cooling down, it'll slow down the cooking. Okay? Okay, now rewind back to sweating. Okay? My proper mechanics are heat my pan, heat my fat, and then what? Add my product, okay. Now, sweating. Remember I said when we're cooking, we want to do what? All we're really doing is what? Manipulating the what? The heat and the food, right? Remember way back at the beginning of this, I said we could saute certain vegetables or we would have to blanch them first, right? It all depends on how they're cut. Which one is going to cook quicker? The dice or the julienne?
The dice.
The dice? Ooh. Why not the dice?
It's thicker.
It's thicker, it's got less surface area, so it comes into less contact with the heat. The more we increase the surface area to come into contact, the quicker it's going to cook. Okay? It's less dense, theoretically. Okay? If it was a thin julienne, it would be a lot thinner than the dice. Okay? So, depending on your knife cuts, you can saute, or you may have to sweat or blanch. Okay? Now, when I'm blanching, or in using the saute technique, I do not want to develop any color. Okay? So I have to be really careful not to cook it too high of a heat. But I gotta saute it because I gotta start softening it up. Okay? Maybe I'm gonna add those sweat onions to a fajita. Okay? But then I'm gonna have to cook all the meat, the bell peppers and the onions all together. So I sweat my onions first to get them soft as the pepper, so that when I saute the peppers and onions together, they all cook what? Even? Yeah, consistently. So right now, little French lesson. I am sauteing au blanc. Au blanc means white, okay? Not the color white, okay? But the absence of color. I've got color, no color, okay? A bronze means brown, okay? So when we sweat something, we sweat it au blanc, or white, no color whatsoever, okay? We're just breaking down that product, softening it up, so that we can consistently cook it with something else. Make sense? Okay. So now we have just the sweat vegetables. There's my taste tester. Okay, raw first, and then sweat. See the difference? Okay, all right. So remember, no color, right? All right, I gotta make a roux. And we were talking about flavor, right? Trying to develop flavor. You only need to cook properly, using the proper technique to really develop flavor. Salt, pepper, herbs, seasonings, spices, yeah, they're all great, but they're accents. What color roux am I making? I'm gonna make a white roux first.
If you're going for a blonde or brown roux, would you want to caramelize the onions a little bit?
I would caramelize them a little bit, just to help develop that flavor. Okay? Who's ever made jambalaya or gumbo? And you have to make a brown roux for your gumbo. Takes forever, right? Mine takes a little bit less time because I take my flour and I blanch it first in the oven. How do you blanch flour? Well, I bake it in the oven and I kind of toast that flour in the oven before I even start making my roux. Cuts my production time down. Okay? Pro tip. Don't post that one. Proprietary information. Okay. Now, notice again when I'm making my roux. Now, when I cook, especially if I'm going to make something that I'm going to thicken with a roux, I'll usually, typically, saute my aromatics first, and then I'll add a little more butter, and then I will add my flour and make my roux that way. Why? Because butter, while it tastes good, will taste gooder if I have garlic and onion in that butter, right? So I could have a roux made with butter, or I could have a roux made with what? That's got garlic and onion and all those other aromatics in it, right? So what I'm doing, instead of stacking flavors, I'm melding my flavors, okay? That's gonna be the difference between good food and really, really good food, right? Okay? All right, so now we've got our roux, okay? Now when you guys made your velouté, what did you do? You added what to your roux? Stock, right? Okay, so right now I'm gonna add some pipe stock. Water comes from the pipes, so we call it pipe stock. Okay. How much water did I add? Not too much, right? What can't I do once I put it in? I can't take it out. What if I put too much water in? Then I have to add more roux. And then instead of melding my flavors, what am I doing? I'm stacking them, right? Okay. I want a white roux. Okay. So again, saute means to what? Jump. Okay. Make it jump. Decrease your density. Increase your surface area. Add a little more water. Stir it around. As I add more and more liquid to it, I can start going a little more at a time, okay? I'm gonna let that come up. I'm gonna let that heat, excuse me. It's my obsessiveness. I can't have a dirty stove. Pause for a second, sure. So, why would I make something like that if it tastes like nothing? What's that? So I can expand on the flavor, but I can use that as my foundation, my base to start building flavors that will eventually come together, right? But I got a good solid base now, okay? So now I take the caramelized onion. Guess what you're gonna do now? Same exact thing. You're gonna get another spoon And you're gonna start from here, and then you're gonna go all the way around again, right? Settle down, not yet. No, take it easy there, killer. Now, all we did, no salt, no pepper, no nothing else, right? All we've done is add that caramelized onion into this, okay? We want to make sure we incorporate it all the way through. So we scrape the sides of the pans and then we fold that in, right? Okay. Now you gotta taste about 3 more times, okay? So taste this one quickly. So, what did you taste? What did you taste this time on? What's that?
A little better.
A little better, right? But did you start getting a little bit of that GBD, that umami? It didn't taste so flat, did it? Now it started to very lightly, right? Okay? So now, let's add some salt and a little pepper. And then we're going to heat that up. Taylor, would you push the whiteboard over here for me, please? Now, who's ever looked through a window? Right? What? If you look through a cloudy window, are you going to see everything sharp and clear? No, right? So it looks kind of distorted, right? So how do we fix that? What do we use on the window? Windex, right? They clean it, and then you got a nice clear window. Nice clear window, and then you can see everything crystal clear, right? That's what salt does. Salt is a clarifier, okay? It's going to open up, it's going to make it a lot more clear, okay? Salt, you put a little bit of salt on your tongue, what happens to your tongue? Saliva starts, right? And we know saliva does what? It's driving the bus for the flavor. It's the saliva is the flavor bus, right? Okay. So while we're letting this season, okay, that first one that you tasted, the base, right? It was kind of flat, right? That's so when we talk about foods that are really flat, that's what we mean, okay? So think about it, okay? That was what you tasted first. That was the raw onion. That was the sweat onion. That was, you know, depending on what you're doing, right? Then we added the caramelized onion, right? And then what happened? We got a little bit. A flavor happened, right? Not much, okay? Didn't really make it too much of a difference, did it? But it did make a difference, right? Now we have salt and pepper into it. So now, you see what I mean about flat and how it clarifies, but also it's not stacked, is it? You look at it, all of those flavors are meshing together. Does that make sense? Okay, so when you're in this class and you're cooking, okay, it's not just about trying to get it done, okay? It's not just about the learning. I mean, who knew that we could spend an hour, over an hour, talking about sauteing onions and not really doing anything more than just exactly what we've done, right? Yeah. All right, now taste that. Let it go. Do you see what I mean about those peaks and valleys that, okay? Did it make a difference? Okay, so now, because we just can't do it. We have to add garlic. Because garlic makes everything, right now this is sad, okay? But you add garlic and it makes it happy, okay? Garlic makes everything better. And if it doesn't make it better, it wasn't worth saving. It wasn't worth making better. Okay. Now, real garlic, real, true sauteed garlic is a thing of beauty, okay? But I want you to see what we can do with just, okay? So we're gonna use a little bit of granulated garlic, which is a decent product when it's used appropriately for the right thing, okay? Unlike decaf coffee, okay? Decaf coffee, there's a time and a place for it, right? That time is never, and the place is in the trash, okay? So we add our garlic to it. You guys, I want you to go online later and look up on Amazon where you can all purchase a sense of humor, okay? And order that, so you have it here, okay? You get to, okay?
Do you want us to get overnight shipping, Chef?
I would get same day delivery, please. Expedite it. I'll pay for the. You can smile. Whoa. Okay, so now we've made it happy. Who's that dude with the hair and the painting?
Bob Ross.
Yeah, the happy trees. So making happy sauce. Just, okay, so last time, I know it's been a challenge to have to taste all this, right? We go, right? But come by now, okay? But I want you to take a good, healthy spoonful of this, and before you swallow it, okay, let it sit on your tongue for a second or two, okay? It's not piping hot, so you're not going to scorch yourself, okay? But I want you to be aware of a couple of things, okay? First thing, texture, consistency, okay? Second thing, saliva. Third thing, salt and all those other flavors, okay? And see, you should ultimately wind up with the final one of umami, okay? And see if you can pick out each individual flavor. Salt, caramelization, the sweat onions, the butter, the flour, the roux, the water, the salt, the pepper, the garlic. See if you can pick them out individually, or if they all do what? Mesh. If I did this right, okay, then you shouldn't be able to pick out one individual thing, okay? All right, anybody have questions? No? Did you learn something? You learned that you talk too much. All right, so same thing. Come on over, taste, and then we're gonna break down and clean up everything. Yes? Yes, Chef. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chef.